Well, thank you everyone for taking the time to join us here today for this webinar about future ready organizations and the Institute for the Future's Vantage Partnership Program. My name is Owen Laviano. I'm the Partner Success Manager here for the Vantage Program. I am joined by Rod Falcon, the Director of the Vantage Program. And today we're going to talk about primarily the Vantage Partnership Organization, but we're also going to give a little bit of background on who we are at the Institute. And Rod's going to talk a lot about this idea of future-ready organizations. Rod recently wrote a wonderful article alongside one of our other colleagues, Ben Hamamoto, titled 7 Steps Towards Becoming a Future-Ready Organization. So that's going to be the topic for today, but we're really excited to speak to all of you and get into it. So we'll just jump right into it. Like I said, a little bit of background on who we are. If you're not familiar with us, we are the Institute for the Future, or IFTF, as you'll see in our logo. We are an independent public interest education and research organization founded in 1968. So we are over 55 years old now, and we're based in Silicon Valley. That's a picture of our office. Right there in downtown Palo Alto, although we will be moving to a new office a little bit later this year. Very exciting. But we are a mission-driven organization, and we strive to help communities, leaders, and organizations become future-ready. And we do that by providing the practical tools, research, and programs to turn foresight into critical new insights and ultimately lead to transformative action. So who is IFTF Vantage? Well, IFTF Vantage is our strategic partnership program here at the Institute. And it brings together foresight professionals like you that are building and practicing foresight at all sorts of different organizations and putting this work into practice. Vantage provides you with the resources, methods, and trainings to help you build foresight as an internal capacity and avoid being blindsided by change. And it helps you expand your strategic horizons to recognize threats, but also recognize opportunities and capitalize on them before they unfold. So partnering with IFTF Vantage really prepares you and your organization for this world that is undergoing constant transformation and change, and gives you the tools to do so. So I'm going to hand it off. It's about who we are at the Institute for the Future and what the Vantage program is at a broad stroke level. We'll get into specifics later, but I want to hand it off to Rod Falcon to talk a little bit about future-ready organizations and kind of set the stage before we talk about the program in more detail.
All right. Can you see my slide, Owen?
We got you, Rod.
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone, for your interest in IFTF. I'm going to sort of turn the page and talk about future-ready organizations. And one way to think about them is future-ready organizations are bringing strategic foresight and imagination together to see possibilities where there were none before. So that's one of the ways that I think about a future-ready organization. But when we think about future-ready organizations, they're focused on the long-term success, and they have visions, enduring visions and missions that are guiding them towards the future. They're also ready. That readiness, the ready is part of future-ready organizations, ready to seize opportunities, keeping an eye out as they emerge. Sometimes ideas and opportunities emerge sooner than expected, but really being able to seize on those opportunities and weather shocks as they unfold. Future-ready organizations. So where is the evidence? This is an article, if you're not familiar with, you should be familiar with it. It's Renee Rohrbeck's research, long-term longitudinal study looking at corporations and strategic foresight and the impacts. And what he found is that they're more profitable and it contributed to overall growth and success. So this article, as you're thinking about sharing the value of strategic foresight to your colleagues inside your organization, this is a really good peer-reviewed resource to share. But strategic foresight, the fundamental value is really captured in this quote by my colleague, Jake Dunnigan, who said it's better to be surprised by a simulation rather than blindsided by reality. And that's the whole point of thinking about the future, thinking ahead, 5, 10 years out. Hopefully we have anticipated some changes and we're not going to be blindsided by change. So how do you build a future-ready organization? In our work, we recently released what we call a playbook for building future readiness inside organizations. And we distilled it down to 3 behaviors or capabilities. 1, organizations need to be able to detect systemic shifts in the external environment and understand their long-term impacts. 2, they need to be able to respond to alternative futures and put that foresight into action and pursue what they believe is their preferred future. And then 3, they need to be able to adapt to that anticipated change in the environment and invest in strategic foresight, that capability to anticipate the future inside their organizations. So one of the things that we do as organizations think about embarking on this journey of becoming future ready, we always ask them to think about where they're at right now. And we want to do that just to get a sense of those of you on the call and how you would answer this question. So the question is your organization future ready? You can respond in one of 4 different ways. So your response could be, we are resisting change and have not moved beyond short-term thinking. We are reacting to change on a longer-term horizon, but are often blindsided by change. Or we are anticipating the future, but strategic foresight remains a limited capability and is not evenly distributed. Or do you answer, we are ready. We're ready for the future. Strategic foresight is a core organizational capability, and we are manifesting our preferred future. So I don't know if we're going to actually run a poll here, but it's a question that I think you should think about as you're thinking about building strategic foresight capability, is really getting a sense of where you're starting from. I would imagine that most of you on this call are not answering A, and you're probably not answering D. You're somewhere between reacting and anticipating, really trying to think about how to improve, how to build, how to practice. What are the resources I need to really integrate foresight across the organization? So, becoming future ready is a journey. Some of you may just be starting, and some of you may well be on your way. But we think, now it's always a good time to think about strategic foresight and leveling up that capacity inside your organization. And that's really what the IFTF and IFTF Vantage can really help deliver, to really bring together all of the resources that you need and the guidance, the resources, the methods, the training, the foresight about how the next decade is changing, and move you on this journey toward becoming future ready. Recently in this article, which my colleague Maureen is going to share with you, and we'll certainly share it with you in a follow-up email, but organizations were asking, what does this journey look like? How can I frame it? How can I think about what are the necessary steps? And I think, if you've been in this field and you've been practicing and building strategic foresight in your organization, you've probably thought about different steps. This is just one way to frame that. So I thought I would share that with you today. So we'll go through that quickly. So we think of this journey as really starting with preparing, assessing your future readiness, answering that question I just posed, and where does your organization stand? But it can also include really taking stock of what capacity do you have, people, resources, platforms, technology that are devoted to anticipating the future. And how do you unlock that if it's not really activated at the moment? Mapping resource networks internally and externally that you can leverage towards building perspectives about the long-term future. And then also thinking about your organization's anticipatory system. So let's pause here just for a moment and think about what is an anticipatory system. Well, the way that I think about it, in the same way that organizations have spent a lot of resources, time, and effort thinking about their innovation systems, here we're asking you to think about your organization's anticipatory system. These are the people, the resources devoted to forecasting the long-term future that's relevant for your organization. And some of you might be starting at zero. Some of you may be well on your way and you have a whole foresight team that really is a reflection of your anticipatory system. But planning and designing that is a critical step here in Prepare. So build, the next step is really thinking through about investing in strategic foresight, not as an individual skill, and certainly that is important, but how do you build this as an organizational capability? So you might do things like building a dedicated team, if you haven't done so already, learning the foresight essentials, the tools to actually practice and create strategic foresight. And we really encourage adopting a disciplined approach. Our framework that organizes just about all of our projects is what we call Foresight Inside Action. So building strategic foresight, a perspective on the next 5 to 10 years. Insight, thinking through those threats and opportunities, and then action, really deciding how to seize that future and making better decisions in the present. The next step we really think about as network, communicating up and down and across your organization the value of long-term thinking. One of the ways to do this is to activate that network and extend your reach of your anticipatory system. So you might think about external experts, internal domain experts, and creating opportunities to forecast the future together. You want to communicate the risk of not thinking about the long term and the risk of short-term thinking if you're not doing so already. And this point, really trying to think about how do you create participatory forecasting opportunities. One of the ways that many of our partners are doing this is building events or meetings or clubs to collect signals about the emerging future. Again, participatory forecasting opportunities, because you can't really do this alone. So really activating and building that community to do it is one of the ways that you can achieve this step. And that'll put you in a better position to actually practice and build a point of view about the long-term future and forecasting, across multiple horizons. By collecting those signals, identifying future forces, possibly harnessing the imagination of that network, and building scenarios of different futures, and collecting signals. For us, signals is a fundamental building block of forecasting, and it's probably one of the most accessible ways to get people that have never really thought about the future to contribute to forecasting. So we highly encourage that as a community activity. Once you practice and build your perspective on the next 10 years, what you have or should have in front of you is many different possibilities about that future. And really the next step is really you're crossing a threshold from thinking about imagination to now really converging on a preferred future. thinking about what is that future that we're going to win in, that we're going to grow profit, that we're going to innovate in. And so centering a preferred future is really a critical step here, and should not be underestimated. It's a lot of effort to build a consensus view on one or more preferred future. As you know, this is how it would shape strategy. Strategy is as much about what you don't do as it is about what you do pursue. So building that consensus view about what is that preferred future, and then really thinking through the way that you might pursue that preferred future, and optimizing against your values and your capabilities. We're also increasingly doing a lot what we call simply thinking backwards. So with that preferred future in mind, working backwards through backcasting methods to think about what does that speculative future on the third horizon mean for the first horizon, your market footprint, your operations. And then what does it mean for the second horizon, new capacities or new capabilities you need to invest or acquire. And so as you're doing this, you're aligning all of those horizons, creating alignment towards that preferred future on that third horizon. And this is just one of many frameworks that we use that facilitates group work once you have strategic foresight. The next piece is really activating action. So mapping out those alternative pathways to the future is really critical here, and drawing out the consequences of those actions and remaining flexible. A big part of futures work is having some clarity about the direction of change, but being very flexible about how you get there. And so hence the importance of mapping out alternative pathways toward the future. Ultimately, we think, as you move through these steps, it's helping you and the organization adapt and move from episodically thinking about the future when the calendar says it's strategic planning time, to really thinking about strategic foresight as continuous anticipation, changing the culture, infusing the organization with futures thinking, and making it part of your daily practice. So sustaining that anticipatory system is critical. Identifying and building shared habits that work, and integrating strategic foresight across multiple organizational functions. And this really gets at the question of, where does strategic foresight fit in my organization? In our research in that playbook that I mentioned, this sort of complicated figure really kind of hides our answer, which is it fits everywhere. Strategic foresight, as we talk to organizations, you'll see on the left-hand side, markets, organization, and systems. It's kind of one way to think about different orders of readiness. Organizations that we talk to definitely apply strategic foresight at the level of markets, their market footprint. So they're thinking about how the future is impacting their products, services, and experiences that they're offering the market. They're thinking about how the long-term future is affecting the success of their organization itself, through the future of management, the future of talent and work and supply chain. So those issues that are really shaping the future of organizational success. And they're also thinking about the future at the scale of systems. No organization should think of itself as an island onto itself. There's this external world of the systems that you rely on or that impact you. So at this level, organizations are certainly thinking about climate, the climate crisis, and other larger urgent futures that are impacting any of the futures that you're pursuing. So that in 7 steps is one way to frame this journey toward becoming a future-ready organization. And I will turn it over to Owen.
Fantastic. Thank you, Rod, for detailing that journey to becoming a future ready organization. I'm sure everyone here is now, thinking about where their organization falls into this, and how they can move forward. And we've told you that the Vantage program is designed to support you along that journey and give you the resources, methodologies, training, coaching, and more to help you do that. So now I want to talk to you about the specifics, the real benefits of the Vantage program, and what the program really looks like. So what you're looking at here are all the benefits of the Vantage program, and I'm going to talk about all of these on more depth on another slide. So don't feel like you have to read every word on here, and we'll share this with you later. But the idea is here that you get a lot with the program. You're going to get access to Foresight Research. You're going to get access to Future Factors, our emerging signals platform. You're going to get access to our 10-year forecast summit, an in-person event coming this fall. You'll get access to our exclusive map of the decade annual forecast. You'll get access to our Foresight training, Foresight coaching, our Foresight councils, which are guided conversations for collective sense making amongst our Vantage partners. And you'll get access to Vantage Point, which is our online hub for our members and Foresight practitioners. So talking a little bit more about these, first and foremost is our Foresight Research. As a Vantage member, you will get access to all of our past Foresight Research, but you'll also get access to the research that we'll be conducting this year. Now, our research team is working hard to finalize this year's research agenda. So I can't give you the full topic. What I can tell you this is that we are going to be taking a look at what we've identified as the future forces, the drivers of change that are going to be shaping our world in the coming decade, and identifying urgent futures that need to be explored. And we'll be producing research around that, and releasing it to our Vantage members. And these come in a lot of different forms, but these will be, concrete, accessible reports and illustrations of diverging possibilities that you can use to inform your strategy, and help you make decisions about the future in this coming decade. Along with Foresight Research, you will have access to Future Factors. Future Factors is our emerging signals platform. Rod talked a little bit about signals of change. And Future Factors is IFTF's signals of change platform for sharing signals of change amongst your team, for seeing what the IFTF researchers are looking at. We built this platform ourselves, and it's all about gathering and sharing these signals of change, these innovations that are going to shape change in the future. You'll also get access to our 10-year forecast exclusive in-person event. We're really excited to be returning to in-person events again this coming year. Rod, do you want to say anything about this event that will be coming back this year?
Yeah, these are really kind of annual gatherings of IFTF partners, experts that we work with, our extended community, and we're presenting, that 10-year forecast view, but you also will get to apply that foresight using different tools, and working with other partners and other organizations. And it's really hands-on, it's very experiential, and it's a really great way to network, but also to learn how to apply strategic foresight. And we spent a lot of time essentially modeling for you the way that you can work with groups and stakeholders in your organization using that year's research and tools.
Fantastic. Thank you, Rod, for that. Yeah, it's going to be a great event that you're surely not going to want to miss coming again this fall. As a member, you also get access to our Foresight trainings. You'll get 2 seats to any of our professional trainings and can purchase more seats for a discount. But this is where I mentioned before, the Institute's been around for 50 plus years. We've been refining these tools, frameworks, methodologies that we use, and we're here to teach them to you as well, in our Foresight Essentials course. But we also have courses on design futures, scenario buildings, and even more recently, our 3 Horizons of Artificial Intelligence course launched, and we also are launching a Foresight Essentials specifically for philanthropy. These courses are both in person and online. So however, you're available, we can meet your needs. These are absolutely invaluable. You'll also get access to Foresight coaching. You'll get the benefit of being connected with a IFTF researcher or Foresight practitioner who can help guide you, provide feedback, and assist you and your organization along that journey towards being future ready. And again, you'll have access to our Foresight Council. This is going to be, again, a gathering of Vantage partners that will allow for guided conversations and collective sense making, engaging in deep conversation around organizational challenges, and focusing really again on urgent futures of today and tomorrow. And it'll be a great place to have a meeting of the minds with the other fantastic Vantage partners we have, as well as IFTF staff and other experts that we've identified and brought in for the conversation. And then again, you'll have access to Vantage Point. So I spoke a little bit earlier about Future Factors, which is our signals gathering and sharing platform. On the other side of that, the other platform we have is Vantage Point. This is our online community hub for Foresight practitioners. This is where you can engage with the community, with IFTF staff, with other Vantage members. You can actually, this is where you'll read the research, watch recordings of events, keep up to date on new events, join online events. It's just a wonderful space to share ideas and interact with the Vantage community. So that is the end of the list and benefits. So we wanted to open it up for a bit of Q&A. So if you have any questions, please feel free to drop those in the chat or use the Q&A feature, and Rod and I will answer some of those now. I know we had one already come in earlier that I saw, and this is a great question that we've had a lot, and I think now we have a better answer than we've had in the past. And that's one I'll give to you, Rod, and that is, you've talked a lot about organizations today, but is Vantage open for individuals as well, or is it just for organizations?
Yeah, really great question. We do have a better answer. We have had a lot of individual practitioners that aren't associated with organizations interested in Vantage. So IFTF Vantage is now open to individual membership, particularly to individual practitioners and consultants and learners that want to be part of a community that are learning and building strategic foresight. So if you are an individual and you'd like to be part of IFTF Vantage, then just let Owen or myself know. You'll have access to our email, and we'll follow up with you directly.
Fantastic. Thanks, Rod. Yeah, we're really excited to be about this. We've listened to what folks have wanted, what they've needed, and we're excited to expand the Vantage community. All right. More questions. I see one about the here we go. So what advice do you have to link strategic foresight with traditional strategic planning? Is there anything you want to say on that, Rod, about linking strategic foresight with traditional strategic planning?
I think strategic foresight should be integrated. It should come up earlier, in very early upstream in any strategic planning process. There's lots of questions there about building a point of view of threats and opportunities that should shape your strategic plan. I think the other question to ask is, strategic plan probably should look at each of those scales that I was describing for building strategic foresight. So I would encourage you to think about, one, applying strategic foresight early upstream, and then thinking about how the long-term future is going to impact not only your the first scale, which is products, your market footprint, product, services, and experiences. But then what about the long-term future is going to impact the way that you do business, the way that you run your organization, and then making sure that you take that external view of the long-term future and think about the larger systems around you that are impacting you. I think a lot of strategic plans might just do the scale of the market and some of the scale of the organizational issues. And you need all three to really shape strategic planning. So that's one of the ways that I would immediately answer about the link.
Yeah, I think that's really helpful. That's a great answer, Ron. I think that kind of leans into the next question I'm seeing, which is it's kind of a two-part question, but it's about how do I what's the easiest way to explain strategic foresight to management? Which to me is also how do I communicate the value of strategic foresight to my stakeholders and in my organization and create that buy-in for this type of work.
Yeah. I think creating buy-in is not certainly, if you don't already have support by leadership, it certainly can be an uphill battle. Leadership is focused a lot on the near term. I think one of the ways to start shifting the conversation is to recognize that strategic foresight is not just about the long-term future. One of the misconceptions about strategic foresight is that it's only about describing the most speculative futures on Horizon 3, 8, 10 years out or further. But strategic foresight really is, if you're going to be disciplined about it, you're thinking about Horizon 1 and 2. And if you do that, then your leadership, you're not putting the burden of drawing the connection on leadership. You're actually doing that halfway. What I mean is, yes, build your perspective on the third horizon, that long-term 10-year future, but then tell me, what does it mean for Horizon 1? And that should be, immediately, what are the short-term implications? And, and usually that is changes that or adjustments to your market footprint. And then given that long-term future, if we want to pursue it on Horizon 2, what's it going to take? What do we need to invest in? What do we need to build, buy, and so on? So I think if you put it in those terms of working that kind of backcasting perspective, you're not putting the entire burden of trying to draw out strategic meaning of the future on leadership. As a foresight practitioner, you necessarily need what I call temporal gymnastics. You need to be good at moving back and forth from the long-term future to the present to the midterm. And I think that will go a long way in communicating the value to leadership.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Rod. Okay, great. Well, those were some fantastic questions. Are there any? All right. So if you have any more questions, feel free to reach out or Rod or I directly. My email is going to be on the last slide here as we close up, but just wanted to close today with a couple different other ways that you can interact, stay connected with the Institute. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here, and we'll close today's webinar up. Great. So, how can I continue my journey to becoming future ready with IFTF? Well, just like we talked about today, right? You can partner with IFTF Vantage, and if you're interested about learning more about that, please reach out to me. My email will be on the last slide. Other things, you can also take a Foresight Essentials training. We talked a little bit about the training that you get access to. Those are also open and available to the public to register. I'll put a little information up on the next slide about those. Other things you can do is you can explore a future of X project, whether that's the future of health, the future of different emerging technologies, the future of something else, whatever it is you're interested in. We can reach out to us and we can scope out a custom project exploring the future that you're most interested in. You can also subscribe to our newsletters. We put out a lot of great content just for free out there to the public. So feel free to just subscribe to our newsletters. You won't want to miss those. You can also participate in one of our webinars. As you know, a mission-driven nonprofit, we do put out a lot of public content and host public webinars. So take a look at the events page on our website, and take a look at what we have coming up. There's always some great things going on. And lastly, you can visit us in Palo Alto if you're ever out there in the Silicon Valley. Please do come say hello. And yeah, so on that. On Foresight Essentials, our training, this is a great way to upskill yourself, upskill your team. Like I said, for individuals, we do have our trainings are open to the public. Those are our Foresight Essentials courses. Foresight Essentials is our flagship course. We also have Design Futures and Scenario Building. And more recently, we started our 3 Horizons of AI course. We have a futures course available on Coursera, another course specifically for philanthropic organizations, and Fast Futures, which is a quick 90-minute crash course on how to, foresight for beginners, right? And we also do custom trainings. If you want to do something for you and your team, please reach out and let us know. We can design custom trainings for all sorts of different teams, no matter the size, and can also connect with you on a potential Foresight leadership accelerators to help you apply Foresight to solve custom business challenges. And these are really great for executive groups. So that's a little bit more on the Foresight Essentials training. Again, if you have questions on the training specifically, please do reach out. But that's it for today. Again, like I promised, there's my email, olaviano@iftf.org. If you have questions, are curious more about learning more about the Vantage program or anything we talked about today, please do not hesitate to reach out. It's what I'm here for and what I love to do. So that's it. Thank you, folks, for joining. I want to thank Rod Falcon for joining me today, and a special thank you as well
Thank you,
to
everyone.
Maureen, who's behind the scenes, and Suzanne, who's been helping out as well. So thank you so much, everybody, and take care. And we'll see you in the future.